turning this to okay, so in today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to do a drop ball fade, similar to the one that Will Smith had in Bad Boys the movie. It is a full-length tutorial, meaning that it's about 22 minutes long. I'm going to be showing you every step of the way, from tricks to tips. It's kind of long, but like I said, I think it's well worth it. So stick around and hopefully you learn something new today. Okay, so first let's discuss what a drop ball fade is. The difference between a drop ball fade and the standard ball fade is that with the drop, the back obviously comes a little lower than a regular ball fade. So first I just wanted to get that understanding out there. So as you can see, I'm balding their hair out right now. And since it is a drop, we do start our guide line a little bit lower. So that way we don't have to fade too high. We do give that drop appearance or that drop look. Okay, I'm using the Andes GTX clipper or outliner to bald the hair. I like to put the line in because for me it gives me some symmetry on both sides. It's just a cleaner look for me. I'll show you a few different ways to get the line out. But yeah, it's not difficult at all, but like I said, it helps. It's clean, it's neat, and like I said, I guess you can call it a bit of OCD on my end because I just like that uniform type look. Also, in today's video, I'll only be focusing on one side of the head because I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory. What you do to one side, you usually do to the other, and since the video is so detailed and long already, I didn't really have time to show you both sides, but just know what I did to one, I do to the other. Now I'm finna start the fading process. The first line that I put in with my balder, with my edgers, was my initial guideline. Now I'm making a secondary line, which is what I use to fade. So this line is the beginning of the fade where I get the line out and I start that first layer. Now that second line is a little higher, so I'm gonna be a little more careful with that one, but I'll show you that later on in the video. But I'm using my Walls Masters all the way up, well, like two notches up to make this secondary line. So if you look on the side of your Masters, there's notches, and I'm using the second notch to make the secondary line. I like using the Masters and the Walls for two different reasons. They both have their purpose. The Masters I like to use because they have a longer comb, so that means you can do more in-depth fading without a guard, if that makes sense. The Walls, the comb on the Walls is not as long. The comb on the blade is not as long, but I like the motor on the Walls. It's a bit stronger for me. Right now I'm going over my work, just cleaning it up. I believe in neatness, especially on the haircut. If you work towards a neat cut, you will finish with a neat cut. You know, I don't really like to cut corners. I don't like to rush it. I feel like this is art and it is a process, so I feel like each process deserves its time. So like I said, I'm putting this first line in with the Walls. I'm sorry, the Masters. Now, as you can see, I switched clippers. I have my Wall Seniors. Now I'm taking that line out. I'm taking that first line out that I put in with the Masters, with the edges. It varies. The notches that I use on the side, I can't really give you exact one. You will have to learn that for yourself because it's usually comfort level. I'm going to also create a video on different fading techniques because there's so many different fading techniques. You know, sometimes I may fade with the back of the blade comb flush to the scalp, or I might take it off and do like a flicking motion. It all depends. Each fade has its different reasoning. But as you can see right now, I'm just taking that line out, small strokes. But when I'm fading out, I focus specifically on the line. As you can see, I don't go too high up. I don't want to interfere with the other line, the secondary line. I just take this primary line out. That's all I focus on. And that way, and also what that does is it gives you a more flush fade. It gives you that smooth, creamy look on the haircut. You'll see at the end what I'm talking about. Yeah, so right now I'm going to take a break from talking and just let you watch me fade. Just watch my hand movements, watch my wrist movements, watch how I control the the lever on the side of the clipper. Also, I use the comb to fade a lot. Instead of using the brush sometimes, because the brush can bunch the hair up. As the comb, it spreads the hair out so you can make it neat and clean. So go ahead and watch, and I'll be back soon. After I finish fading it out with the walls, I go back with the edges and do what I like to call notch fading, and just hit small spots where I might see a little bit of line at, and then I move on to the second part of the fade, which is the secondary line. So now we're at the part of the fading that takes a little bit more time, effort, and a little bit more strategy, which is because the hair is longer. So anytime you're fading longer hair, it's a little bit more tricky. So what I'm using now, I'm using my wall singers. I have my 1.5 guard on. Now I'm doing what I call thinning it out. I'm taking out a lot of the bulk. I'm not so much as fading, rather than just thinning the hair. So when I go back and fade with my 1 guard, it won't be so difficult for me, and I won't leave chunks of hair, which gives that bulky look that we like to call chilly in the barbershop. So yeah, I can go pretty high because I'm barely touching the surface of the hair. I'm not really digging in. Like I said, the comb of the blade on the clipper is not flush to the scalp. It's just barely flicking it. You know, at times I may lay it down when I need to cut more off, but a general rule of thumb is the more flush the blade is to the scalp, the more hair you take off. So just remember that. You know, if you're just using the comb and the back of the clipper is not touching the scalp, a lot of hair won't come off. Just remember that. But I go back, I thin it out first. So as I thin it out, just watch, see how I use the comb, see how I brush the hair the way that it goes, or comb the hair the way that it goes. And I'm just knocking a lot of that bulkiness out. So now we're at the point where it's time to remove that line. Now I have my walls, still with the walls, I have my 1 guard, and now I'm removing the line. You know, the 1 guard gives me the protection of a guard on the clipper, but it also gives me that how do you say, it's short enough to where I can remove the line, basically. So now I'm just going through, I'm fading the line. Note to self, like I said earlier, when I'm fading out a line, I'm just hitting the line. I don't go into the other part of the hair because I don't want to add an unnecessary line. So I hit the line. You know, it's like I said, this is all art. You treat it like artwork. I don't know if any of you guys ever drew or any other kind of art, music, musician, sports. All of that is art. So you do your craft to what works best for you. You know, I'm just giving you my tips and my tools, but at the end, you're gonna have to learn what's best for you. But before you can master something to where you can play with it, you have to learn the basic techniques. So as you can see, I'm hitting the line. I focus solely on that. Another general rule that I usually use, that I'm not doing much on here, but it'll work best for you if you're a beginner, is I cut a few strokes, then I brush it, then I comb a few strokes. You lay that hair back down, because once you cut it, you're knocking it out of place, and you have to put it back in place so you can cut it to where you want it to be. So yeah, that's just a general rule. As you can see, I do short strokes and long strokes. The shorter strokes knock off more hair at a time, where the longer strokes give you more depth in the cut, if that makes sense. So after I hit a few more spots, I'm about to get my Andes Masters. Like I said, I like to use that clipper with no guard, because the comb is so long on it that you can literally fade flush with just the clipper itself. So after I hit a few more spots, I'm finna pick my Masters up, and I'm finna show you how to fade with that and hit a few. 5 spots. Okay, so now there's a few spots that I couldn't hit with my one guard, my walls. Now I just adjust the lever, I play with it back and forth until I find the position that I need to knock out a few of these areas that I see. Now, is there such thing as perfection? Probably not. But do you work to achieve it? Yes. So with that being said, I'm very tedious on every little thing that I see. You know, if I believe that you're going to see it, if I believe that when my client goes out and somebody's gonna notice something in their haircut, I'm gonna see it. Now, half the time, do people that's not barbers notice things like that? No, but I do, so I get it. You know, I don't believe in developing a habit of being lazy and leaving small things just because. No. So every little thing I see, I usually try to hit. So after I hit a few more spots with my masters, I'm finna pick the comb up and I'm finna thin a few spots out in the longer part of the hair. And I'll give you a brief overview of how I do that. So after you finish fading the hair, after you believe that the fade is good enough to your liking, now you want to make sure everything blends into a smooth transition from bald to long hair. So I go back with my flat top comb and I hit the bulky areas, or I hit the areas that are uneven. I call this clipper over comb technique. Some people might disagree, but I believe that it is because it is a clipper over the comb. I'm going back and evening the hair out. Like I said, what I do is I pick up a layer of hair, and whatever sticks out that's not even, I cut it. I make sure it's flush, and I make sure it's very smooth. I go back, I do this a few times over. All the bulky areas that I may see, you know, usually I look from a side angle to see it, and then I hit it. I've been doing it for a while, so I kind of don't have to look at that angle anymore. But everything needs to be neat for me. You know, I know I say it a lot of times, but I'm very big on smoothness and neatness, especially on the haircut, on my artwork. So I'm hitting small areas that I might see. If I see it, I'm gonna hit it. You know, cause little things translate into the big picture always. So yeah, I'm just going back and knocking out these small spots. I'm gonna pick the comb up again eventually and knock out a few areas in that back spot. But yeah, so I'm just smoothing the hair out. The transition is a big part, because just because you have a nice fade, if it doesn't transition into the whole haircut, then it's useless. Period. It's just useless. So you see these areas, I pick it up and I knock it off. If it hangs over, I'm knocking it off. Like I said, I lay that comb flush against the scalp, and then I lift up to where the level of the hair raises to where it's even. You may notice that throughout this video, you're going to see me do a lot of the same steps over and over again. I'm very repetitive. A repetitive motion equals to a great motion, equals to a great finished product. So I'm going to do the same thing quite a few times, but it always means something. It's never for no reason. So after I go back and check the hair, see if there's anything hanging over, I'm going to get my electric shaver to clean up the bald part of the hair, of the fade. Like I said, everything's about neatness and cleanness. Some scalps can take the balder, some can't. You just have to know the sensitivity level of your client's head. And in this case, he can, so I'm going to utilize it. Dun 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 dun. So after the fade is pretty much done, I'm gonna hit a few more spots, clean it up. Now it's time for the edge up. The most important part of the cut. Well, one of the most important parts of the cut. The most sought after part of the cut. Now, my big thing is I'm a razor guy. I usually don't even like to use the clippers on the edge up, but I do sometimes as an outline. So since this is a tutorial video, I'm gonna use it. But before I use the edgers, I always use spritz, and I blow dry the hair so it'll be stiffened up and it don't move. Now mind you, this clipper edge up won't be the best. It's just gonna be an outline, so I'm gonna speed through so you can see how I briefly just use it. His edge up doesn't grow even. The left side grows lower than the right side. So I'm not gonna really attack that issue at this moment. I'm just gonna clean it up. I might hit the corner a little bit. So I'm just giving myself an outline so you guys can see how I start or where to start from. I'm gonna rush through, fast forward it, yada yada yada, enjoy it, hit the sides. Now, the razor part is very important. I use gel for the razor, usually sometimes shaving cream. Right now I'm using the blue gel from Eco Style. It has a slight tint, so if you notice that, just know that that's the gel. I also forgot that I was doing a tutorial. I don't know how when the camera's right there in front of me. So I put the gel on first, as you're finna see, but I'm gonna reapply it just so you can see it. Like I said, I already put the gel on, but I'm gonna reapply the gel. It's a blue gel. I like the way it smells, and it's pretty soft on the hair. So just in case you're wondering, I use the gel instead of the razor, or instead of the shaving cream sometimes because the gel is see-through, so I can see what I'm edging up. Not a big deal, but that's why. Now I'm starting the center of the head. I'm just hitting the edges. I don't like to push the edge back. I like to keep it smooth. I also like to clean the hair off the forehead. Hair grows on every inch of your body almost, but just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there. So if you hit the hairs that you can't really see, it makes the haircut even smoother. Tip or key. So now I'm hitting the edge up. Like I said, as you can see, his edge just kind of dips right there. But don't worry, we'll take care of that. Now, when I edge the corners of the hair, I only use the corner of the blade. You know, just because you have a whole razor don't mean you need to use the whole razor. Now, when I edge the curve of the hair, I don't use my razor handle. I use the double edge bendable breakaway blades. I like them because they have a curve, so I can follow the natural curve of any head. That's one of my tricks that I use. I don't really use the razor handle on the side. Well, on the left side, because as you can see how I do it with the right side, you'll notice why. But so I go back, I hit the corners. Sometimes I go with the hair. It's all about what works best for you. And then also you're gonna see that I edge them up like 3 different times. I went with the clippers, I go with the razor, I'm gonna blow dry it back with the clippers, and I'm gonna clean it up again with the razor. I'm not taking them back each time, I'm just hitting the spots. So it'll be a real crispy, smooth fade. Now, after I edged it up with the razor the initial time, I go back and I hit it against the grain to give it a cleaner look. I guess he found something funny. But yeah, so when I first started cutting hair, I never had a razor handle, so that's how I really got acclimated with using the blade without a handle. But I'm going back and I'm hitting the corners, I'm hitting the side. I believe that the more flush you hold the razor to the skin or parallel, the more sharper it cuts. And it also depends on your razor handle as well. The heavier the razor handle, the better cut you can get because the more pressure it applies to the blade and the skin. Another tip or tool you might not have known about. Sometimes edging longer hair can be difficult because the hair on top kind of gets in the way. So I push it back quite a bit, as you can see right there. And I reapply the gel because the gel kind of dries fast, especially Eco Style gel, but I like the way it cut. So I apply more gel, or sometimes I just apply gel as I work on that side. So I comb some of the hair down. Oh, another major tip that I use, as I'm edging, I always pull the scalp back. Because when you pull the scalp, it makes the skin tighter so you can razor it better. I don't know if you ever tried the razor loose skin. It doesn't really always work the best. You don't really cut the cut is not as smooth and as clean. So like I said, I clean the forehead. It's actually a form of microdermabrasion when you remove the first layer of the skin. So you know you kind of adding a service there. You don't have to tell them that. Just help keeps the skin clean. So now I'm using the razor handle on this side because I'm right-handed and I can follow the natural curve. I'm usually, depending on what hand you are, you always show favoritism to it, unless you're ambidextrous, which I'm not. So now I'm cleaning up the edge up, just making it real smooth. I'm hitting little small spots I see. I'm very repetitive, guys. I'm very repetitive, which I think you should be too. It helps with the perfection, or it helps you get one step closer to perfection. Just cleaning it up. Now I'm gonna go back, add some more spritz, use the blow dryer again, comb their hair out, stiffen up the hair, because hair always runs. You know, it's always hair you didn't get. But we can't do it 100 million times, so I just do it 4 or 5. And just get the hanging over here. As you can see, blow dry it. Now, going back with the edges, and I'm hitting the hairs. You know, I'm not taking the edge back anymore. because the edge up's pretty much done. I'm just really cleaning it up, neatening it. Like I said, that left side leans a little, so I have to go back and hit that more just to make it smoother. Now, so let's just talk about taking back. You never want to take back unless you have to. You can be excessive with it, but you're usually going to lose clients if you do it too often. So now we're just making it neat, because nobody edge up grows in perfect. That's what the edge up is for. So I'm cleaning it up. Then I go back with my razor and I hit small spots. Just spot checking, spot work, you know. Oh, and as you may notice, you may see gel on top of my hand. The reason I put the gel on top of my hand is so I don't have to turn around and go to my station all the time. If I have me a small dab of it on my hand, it helps to prevent the other gel from getting dry that's on the client already. So now I'm just cleaning it up, cleaning it up. Alright, so everything from here on is just cleanup work. The cut is done, finished product is what you see. I'm just being OCD-ish and just going back and hitting everything once over. Now with the barber, now I'm removed. That line was removed because I hit it with a combination of edges and the barber. Now when you use the barber on the fade, don't go up into your lines because you will create a whole new problem. The barber is really just for the ball part. If it's hair there, don't hit it. Basically, if it's part of your fade, I'm going back, I'm adjusting my levers. I'm using the corner of the clipper. You know, that's another tip. I use the corner of the clipper to fade at times. Like I said, I'll be dropping videos on everything you can think of. If there's something you have a question on, just hit me in the comments, and I'll definitely do my best to hit you back as soon as possible, and we'll make a video about it. And that's pretty much how you do drop fade with the long hair on top. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you like it, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Deuces.
This is a Ryan Little production.